Hello and welcome to this quick video about OpenSpec 1.0 and the changes that come with it. For the large part, the structure of the specifications, which is the top level source of truth spec, and each of the spec having a delta format, that remains unchanged. So thereby migrating from the earlier version to the new version should be very straightforward. I will not go into the details of how OpenSpec itself works and its philosophy. I'll leave a link to the video that I had done on the same earlier. What I will focus on in this video is the changes that have come with the 1.0 release itself. The first of those is the starting point. When you are creating a new proposal, you have the option to now explore that particular idea in greater detail with the AI, or you can jump directly into creating the proposal itself with the OpenSpec new command, which is equivalent to the OpenSpec proposal which was there earlier. And of course, you'll notice that all of these commands have a prefix now, which is /opsx. Now, the second big change you will see is once you're starting to create the proposal. Earlier, OpenSpec would create all the artifacts for that change in one go: propose, design, proposal, the design, the tasks, and the specs, and we review and align on the entire folder for that change. Now you have the ability to step through that particular phases. So you can go through propose, finish the proposal.md, review that, give feedback before the next phase begins. So thereby your feedback is taken into account before the next artifact is created. This is a very welcome change in terms of allowing for very in-depth review. So that's the creation of the artifacts. But of course, if you are very clear about what you're building and it's a small little change, you can fast forward, and all of these phases will happen automatically, and the artifacts are generated at one go, and it's pretty much the same as how OpenSpec would work earlier. Once you're happy with the change proposal, then you can apply. This remains unchanged. Here the tasks are implemented according to the spec, which generates the code. And now comes the third big change in OpenSpec 3.1.0, which is when you now have an option to verify the implementation, whether the intent alignment of the implementation with the spec itself. It does generate a report of completeness, correctness, and coherence, and it seems quite helpful right now. I'm testing this out in detail. As I learn more, I will share on this, but as of now, it looks quite useful. And then comes the archive phase itself, where we are familiar with it, where it takes the delta spec, merges it into the source of truth specification, and moves it to the archive folder. Of course, you have the option now to bulk archive multiple changes at one go. So to recap, the three big changes that I have predominantly noticed right now is first, the option to explore before creating a proposal. Second, to create each of the artifact one by one and review them, and step through the each of those phases of creating the proposal, and eventually the ability to verify what is the intent alignment between your specification and the implementation. For the large part, then, if you prefer sticking to the older workflow, the only change that you need to sort of superimpose in your mental model is using the OPSX new command and the continue or the fast forward command in place of the OpenSpec proposal, and then the apply and archive remains unchanged, and you don't have to change your mental model at all. It took me all of like 2 minutes to switch from the older OpenSpec version to 1.0 release itself, so it's very straightforward. But that said, I'll definitely encourage you to try out the new workflow and give feedback on what's your opinion in terms of this workflow itself. There are a few more commands which I've not covered here to keep the video short. Of course, there is sync and other optional commands. As I learn more, I will share with practical examples. But there are more interesting pieces in OpenSpec 1.0 release, and one of those which caught my eye, I'm very excited about, is config.yaml. If you've seen one of my earlier videos where I've shown how I integrate OpenSpec with linear MCP to pull from a product backlog and keep the product backlog updated as I progress through the feature in my code repository. For that, I had extended OpenSpec itself. Now, I don't think we need to do that. We pretty much configure that in the config.yaml here in plain text, and it works quite well. I will probably do a separate video on that. And then you'll notice that at the top there is this thing called schema, and it says spec driven. There are a few default schema here, which is the workflow itself in terms of what OpenSpec is following. If you remember the plan, design, spec and task, those phases of how you're going about it, that itself is configurable. Of course, spec driven is one of the defaults which is available, which means even if you have a team and you want to configure the workflow to your own liking, you can do that. Now, these concepts of going into config.yaml and configuring OpenSpec in depth for your team, those topics deserve a video of their own. Now, I'll keep this video focused on the OpenSpec workflow itself with 1.0 release, so that we we can give this a try and learn more from it. So that's all I have for this, and this is Hare Krishnan. I'll catch you on the next one.